going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning in again for another episode of Savage Studios. If you like this video, feel free to hit that like button. If you don't, feel free to go ahead and find yourself a YouTube channel that does meet your requirements and hit the like button for them. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell on the side so you'll be notified of further videos and upcoming content that I got coming out. You'll be on the hot list to finding out what I got. So, with all that being said, today we got a banger. We're doing the Shu Part 2 because the first one was a little bit about my personal experience with just not a whole lot of facts. So we're going to try to cover as much as we possibly can in this video of the Shu Part 2. So, like one thing that we all know about the Shu, anybody who's been to the Shu, is it's a whole different vibe. You got COs that are just they're not the same as the kind of yard cops. They're a little more hard and they're a little more conniving, you know, because they got the ability, they got the capacity to be a little more scandalous because not a lot of people, they're not for everybody to see. Not everybody's watching their every single move. So what they do is basically kind of utilize their own little tactics and their own little weapons, which they mask as protocol, because we all know one thing that they do in there is they use domination through protocol, right? From how they take you to committee to go to every one meeting. They have you with your hands handcuffed behind your back. They make you straddle a chair. The whole room has got the desks and the chairs. Everyone's facing you. So, you know, it's just set up to break you. So us as inmates, we do what we can when we get to the Shu to kind of keep our mind off of going stagnant because, you know, you never want idle hands, right? You never want idle time. You never want to just be sitting there twiddling your thumbs back and forth, because then that's how negativity breeds, you know. And once negativity breeds, you bound to do some dumb shit. You bound to get yourself in some kind of trouble, trying to politic, trying to do whatever, tripping on your celly. Time's hard enough to do in the Shu period. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about some of the activities that we used to do. I used to work out nonstop. I didn't care if it was summer. I didn't care if it was winter. I didn't care. It was burpees all day long. And if I wasn't doing burpees, I was reading. But one of my major activities that I really enjoyed when I got a celly who was really cool and I felt like I should hook him up with a lot of work because he wanted to be tatted was tattooing. How the fuck did we tattoo? Literally to burn our own ink, how I was burning my ink, to kind of get detail with you guys and give you a more elaborate rundown of how it's done. I used to hollow out my apple, right? So I'd have this hollow, emptied apple. I'd get a blanket because they have like the wool blankets. These motherfuckers seem like they're fire retardant blankets. Don't use those. The blankets, they give out certain kinds of blankets. It's like you scratch your skin with the green pad and you tell the nurse like, hey, I got a rash from this other kind of blanket. They'll provide you with a blanket that like has threads. Make a wick, braid it up, twist it up, fold it, twist it up, fold it. You'll have a wick about this long. Tie that to some kind of metal. It could be a paper clip or whatever. Poke it in the inside of the middle of the candle, right? The apple. Y'all didn't know this was going to be a candle, but that's what this apple is going to be. It's going to be a makeshift candle. They would give us, in Corcoran, they'd give us packets of butter, squeezed butter that you can squeeze into the apple. So you squeeze all that. Make sure you dip that wick in there and then stick it in there and light that wick. Light that candle. And it'll be a candle that goes on for hours. And when it goes on for hours, you in Corcoran, they didn't have the toilet paper holder. I wasn't using that. I was using a manila envelope on the side of my sink. But if like when I got across the street to Corcoran 3A04 Ad Seg, as opposed to the Shu, they had the toilet paper holes inside the toilet. So you could just stick it in there and the flame would let off. It would emit soot, right? That you know, that black tarry soot looking thing, and you know, it would build a little mountain of it. You just scrape it off, and that's what we would use to tattoo, slang ink on each other. You know, the COs would come in, and you know, some of them would trip. I've been written up a few times. Everyone wants to say that, you know, every cop is cool with tattooing. A lot of them are, especially if you're level 4. They're not tripping, and you can do drawings for them. I've done a gang of drawings to get like extra food, coffee, or whatever. You hook them up. Or you hook them up with some like little shit for their office. So that was one big thing that I did in the Shu to break up my time and break up this monotony, right? Because you start to go stagnant in there if you don't do something, right? So I'd be tattooing on my celly, you know, all day long. Once the ink was made, I literally was running my tattoo gun off of the back of my TV. So I had the positive and the negative connected to the backside of the TV. They had all the little solders connected to a positive and then a ground on the TV, which you could, for the ground, you could just wrap it around the cable input, and that could be your ground. And my gun would literally run off my TV. And so I tapped my celly up. We'd work out. If we weren't working out, we'd be reading. And the one thing that you do in the SHU is with your neighbor, you get to know your neighbors, you get to know everyone around you because you live with these individuals for extended stays. That's why you're in the SHU, because the SHU is for people who are not just doing a little SHU term in the hole and are going to get kicked back out to the yard. The SHU is mainly for people who need to go to the SHU because they're going to have an extended stay, or they might get a transfer from out of there, whatever the case was. So my neighbors could have been active sureños. I could have been a validated 2-5. I could have had a norteño next to me. Some blocks in the SHU in Corcoran were mixed, intermingled. That could have been on behalf of correctional officers, or it could have been on behalf of there just being a population problem going on. Whatever the case was, I was always cool with my neighbors up, my neighbors downstairs that I talked to in the vent, my neighbors to the right, my neighbors to the left. We passed books. We weren't supposed to be doing that, or at least they weren't supposed to be doing that. But back there, you kind of look out for each other, right? You could even go as far as exchanging paperwork with somebody if that's what you feel comfortable doing. That's on the other side of the fence, just so they know that they're dealing with somebody solid, and vice versa. Because what makes a motherfucker solid at the end of the day is that you got clean paperwork and that you smashing for yours. You ain't doing no little weenie ass, pussy ass PC stuff. But aside from that, guys, so hit the yard, right? Corcoran, Tehachapi, there was times you wouldn't get yard for 2-3 weeks at a time, and you'd get one day a yard, and someone would fuck it up because in Tehachapi you go to the cage yards, but you're going all chained to each other. And man, I literally have had a homie attack someone else all hooked up against this one chain. So that ruined our yard for a while. Corcoran was way more consistent, especially after the Coleman lawsuit had passed. They were making sure to give us our yard. So we go to yard, we bust down, get that money. They put pull-up bars in the cages. They didn't have no dip bars, but they had the pull-up bars in the cages. And that's all we needed, because we was already, getting shredded just doing burpees. We was already building mass amounts of muscle, hitting burpees, hitting push-ups, thousands of push-ups. We talking about thousands. And a lot of people will either get with that, or a lot of people spend their time talking shit. And one big thing about me, when I first got to the SHU, when I first rolled up, there was a couple little issues that I was having amongst homies that I was rolling with. And my whole number one thing to anybody was, hey, look, until I get a celly, I'm available for double cell chrono. You guys can move in. I'll smash the shit out of you, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to litigate on you. I'm not going to go back and forth on paperwork, because it takes forever for a kite to get to A section, to C section, get a response back to A section, back to C. So anyways, basically like I was saying, the idle hands, the idle time, that will break you. That alone will make your SHU experience something that you regret, something that you can't stand, something that maybe you can't handle. And I've seen it all, man. I've seen dudes hang themselves. I seen one guy hang himself a couple cells down from me. The cops pulled him out of the cell, were like poking at him, making it funny like it was a joke. I've seen cellies murder each other. I've seen it to where, they've got lucky and they didn't die. I've seen it to where people at the end of the day can't take it, and they roll up from one part of the SHU and they go to the next part of the SHU because maybe their surrounding neighbors and them aren't getting along. Maybe because whatever the situation is, the cops are pressing them too hard. I've seen people, battle depression, people be cool. I was one of the people that was pretty much cool. I went over there. I loved the SHU. I loved being back there, because I found that when I was on the yard, it was so many soft ass people that never really put it down, right? No one, and it's like when you're in the SHU and you're back there, you just start to just be around the kind of people that are like you, right? And am I saying this right or am I saying this wrong? Obviously, it's not the right state of mind to be stuck in, to want to gravitate towards other violent offenders and only be able to relate to them and want to be around them. But that's kind of what the case was for me. That's what it turned into. It turned into a state of being, not wanting to be around the fakes, the soft, the weak, you know what I mean? So I kind of spent most of my time back there in the SHU or in some kind of ad seg somewhere in California, That's just the way the dice always went for me. I enjoyed the program. I love the sharp routine. I love being able to hold yourself accountable, but your celly holding himself accountable, and that was it. Always had a batch of Pruno going every other week, if not every week. Fire stuff. I'm talking about getting you lit, getting you drunk. You and your celly are on the tier, you know, drunk, getting faded. And if we weren't doing that, man, we'd find 1,000 other things. We'd make fishing lines. We'd make clotheslines. We'd hang our clothes up to dry on 1,000 different lines. I've done it. I've scraped out the inside of the cracks of the walls where they have the cement, and literally have hidden my knives and buried it with a cement-like glue over it. You know, just 100,000 little projects. Making a chess set out of toilet paper and bread, you know, and Kool-Aid, coloring the pieces, you know, making little fans that could make some kind of ventilation go. Because when I say that I've seen it all in the Shu, I've seen it all in the Shu. Death, homicide, suicide, rape, all that stuff is not hard to find when you're in the Shu, especially if you have the celly. So don't even get me started on cell extractions. I done had so many damn cell extractions in my life. I'm so tired of the taste of pepper spray. What it did to my eyes, I got asthma. So every time they hit me with that shit, I feel like I'm having some kind of level 4 ass asthma attack and I'm about to fucking pass out. And I tell the CEO and he's telling me, good, I hope you die. Right? So I had to regulate my breathing just to try to save myself because I really did feel the lungs closing in. So the cell extractions is a whole nother mess, man. And I thank God I had a celly at the time who went at it just as hard as me and made it to where we both shared the ass whooping, as opposed to me because when you cell extract single cell, they gonna fuck you up extra proper, extra special, extra sweet, extra lovely, because no one's around. It's just you in that motherfucker pissing everyone off. It's just you. So they're coming in for you, but they're gonna come in for you the right way. When you got your celly, you stay your ass. I like the top bunk, right? I like that vantage point. When they come in, I like being able to fly off that top bunk. Some people fly off the table or the sink. Me, I like that top bunk because I wait for them to push their way in and I just, boom, I throw myself full-fledged into them. And then after that, you know, they beat you down, pepper spray you up, and toss you out in the sun to let you bake and let you marinate. The Shu ain't no place to take as a joke, because when you're over there, if the time ain't gonna eventually break you down, let me share with you a couple things that will break you down. You getting mail from your loved ones and the fucking letter gets to you about 30, 40 days later. Get used to that. I used to get pictures stolen from me. I used to have 20 pictures sent and get like 5 pictures. Where the rest of the picture goes, nobody knows. My ex at the time used to come visit me. When she would come visit me, the CEOs would be trying to flirt with her, trying to spit game to her, trying to ask, what is he doing to keep you? So that's another one, right? The games that they would play, the little head games that they would play, or attitude that the CEOs would give you when they come to strip you out. Because yes, before you go to yard in a cage, you got to get butt naked. You got to grab both your fucking ass cheeks, and you got to show them that cornhole to make sure there ain't no knife up your cornhole. So you do that going out to yard, and you do that going back in the yard. So those are just a few different things. That ain't to mention you not getting along with your celly. Because if you don't get along with your celly, your guys' time is going to be horrible. Which is why people say, why would you fight all your cellies? Because I had mentioned it in a previous video. I would fuck my cellies up often because, first off, I'm SNY. So at the end of the day, you don't miss me with that little pussy ass, oh, you can't fight another homie. Homie, if I'm not feeling you in the cell, it ain't about being a bully. If you give me that attitude, that tension, you making my time harder to live peacefully and be calm. Because I'm the coolest guy. I can laugh with you and we could clown all day long. We could say all kinds of shit. But if I start feeling a negative vibe with tension in it, I'm going to just boot you. I'm going to boot you out by any means necessary. Tall, white, black, Asian, I don't give a shit what you are. If you're making my time harder, it's going to be an issue. But a lot of people don't handle it that way. A lot of people are more patient and everything like that. And one thing I would notice is you see a lot of homies come out to yard in the Shu and they're miserable because their damn cellies making them miserable. So, you know, this is just part 2. The Shu is so deep and the Shu is so in depth, right? It's such a different creature with every different Shu that you go to. I give a lot of my account of Cork and Shu because I really like Cork and Shu. Cork and Shu was the shit. Tehachapi Shu was all right because they had big ass sales, probably the biggest sales you're gonna find in California. But, you know, the COs, the vibe was just a little different. Now, it changes because I know homies that was at Tehachapi Shu around certain years and it was the spot. It was lovely. But then, you know, changes happen within prison. Yards flip this way. Yard CEOs get pissed off about it. Next thing you know, the shoe ain't no good over there no more because of how you're being treated, the kind of games that are being set up, gladiator games still going on, and so on and so forth. But look, guys, like I said, I'm a